Hey, Jamie.
Hey.
Remember yesterday how when we were talking about, well, first and foremost, my name is Dan Reeses, and what this is a beta test of an application that I'm going to give 2 weeks to see if it works. In that 2 week time, I hope that it passes the Ryan Watson test as well as is effective enough. Essentially, what I need is not for you, Jamie, to control that device, but for you to turn that off completely. Not turn it off completely, stop it, open up a new file, and have it in front of me. So only the part that is addressable to the court gets recorded. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Awesome. Now, this video is for Judge Matos Wilson, Judge Cochiella,
I actually think it's Cacchiola.
Cacchiola.
I believe
Judge
so.
Padden / Judge Clark, who are the federal judges, legal counsel for PSE&G, U.S. Alliance, Judge Martinotti, Judge Faiz, and Judge Reinhold. Now, obviously, the Judge Reinhold's a joke, but Jamie's not paying attention, and yeah, it's okay. It's, there is lighthearted humor that needs to be interjected into Jamie. I need it so that if I press the button, it's a new file.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
I believe so. I might need a minute to just play.
Go ahead, no problem. During that time, I want to tell everyone at home a story. And Jamie will probably not pay attention to this until she watches it, and that's okay. Now, ladies and gentlemen, everybody knows who Jeff Bezos is. And Jeff Bezos is a very wealthy man who is the extreme version of what we all aspire to have, which is a lot of money and to be able to pretty much do anything we want at any time in the world, while at the same time actually contributing something to our society. Because Jeff Bezos didn't inherit his money, he made it from absolutely nothing. Amazon was nothing more than a online book distributorship, meaning that you bought the books on the internet and they sent them to you, not ebooks. That eventually, was one of the things that they created. Now, this right here is a video. Thank you so much, Jamie. Now, this right here is a video. It is nothing more than a step in a process that I really enjoy, which is documenting the rise of a human being who everyone has tried to destroy. Let's use me as an example versus Jeff Bezos. Now, Jeff Bezos, Jamie, we discussed yesterday, is a human being who, in my opinion, lives in hell.
Yeah.
And do you remember why I said he lives in hell?
Because everyone wants something from him now. He can't know anyone's intentions are pure because he's so...
That's close.
Wealthy.
But unfortunately, what I really said was every person that loves Jeff Bezos right now, he has purchased through not money, but by creating a character that is a multi-billionaire. That human being, Jeff Bezos, and the guy that you know that has billions of dollars are not the same human being. The real human being exists in every parallel universe imaginable. But in this timeline, this Jeff Bezos made the right choices to make billions of dollars, which led to his meteoric rise as well as his new lifestyle. At which point, everybody knows the new Jeff Bezos, who's a multi-billionaire. Now, if you were to ask Jeff Bezos, not now, but in 20 years from now, if you had to do it all over again, what would you do? You see, what both Jeff Bezos, and any human being who knows that they created something as valuable as Amazon would give you this answer. But somebody has to ask me it. So, Jamie, ask me the question.
What's the question? I don't know.
How would you live life differently if at the age of 89, right before you pass away, someone asks you, and you're a very wealthy human being who created something that changed the world?
Is there anything you would have changed in your life?
Yes, I would.
What would that be?
What I would have done if I would have known that Amazon is and will be what it is, I would have first created a smaller company, something that's worth about $50 million. And then I would allow the people around me to steal from me. And I would do that because, and remember, the business has to be one that requires a lot of trust. And I would do that not because I wanted to lose money, but because I wanted to see who really loved me before I told the world about Amazon. So that company I would have created just so I can entice the people that pretended to love me to steal from me. And the ones that didn't steal from me are the ones that deserve to be part of the Amazon project. So that then, when I do create Amazon and they don't have to do absolutely anything, I would know exactly who loves me and who does not. Does that make any sense?
Total.
So, that would require, obviously, planning, dedication, commitment, and things like that. But if you can actually pull it off, a really, really intelligent Jeff Bezos would give you that answer. And so would the Jeff Bezos right now. He would say, you know what, I would start a small company and I would step back and allow it to fail. Not because I wanted to or I didn't want to, but because I was smart enough to open up the kind of business that I knew the people that loved me would be enticed enough to rob me for. And by seeing who did rob me versus who didn't rob me, I would then be able to just launch Amazon, which I knew was going to make billions of dollars. So I didn't need to worry about that. The only thing that I'm upset about right before I die is that every person in my life I purchased. Because I have no idea who actually would have stayed with me if I opened up, I don't know, like some food company or a barbecue business or something like that. You get it? Now, Judge Matos Wilson. Oh, Jamie, I'm sorry. Can you please open this up? Thank you so much. Do not share a password, Jamie. Okay. No, I do not share. Meaning, like, I don't know hers. All right.
Just when you're ready.
All right, cool. Good afternoon, Judge Matos Wilson, Judge Cacciola, Judge Patton, Judge Clark, legal counsel for PSA&G, Judge Martinotti, and Judge Vaiz, and the legal counsel for U.S. Alliance. Seth, what's up? How are you? My name is Daniel M. Risas, and this is a letter to address a significant issue that simply is too complicated to resolve via one single letter. So what I'm going to try to do my best is to create a semblance of an organized structure of what has happened, why it is illegal, how it happened, and what steps I believe that we can take to resolve this issue. I'm going to do this calmly, coherently, and remind everyone that just like I'm able to address the court as well as the world in the most calm, professional way, that is exactly how I treat my children. I assure you, it is very, very annoying because Dad is very often right. And that's a very common saying in most households. But in my household, when Dan Risas is your father, I have a hard time keeping a straight face because the boys will get a little bit older and they're really going to enjoy their life because I really have taken the time to raise them the right way. They treat their mother with respect, they love her, they listen to her, and this whole thing is about a group of human beings. Not just one of you, but a group of human beings who simply chose to ignore the law. And when you saw the other people in this group breaking the law, you did nothing about it. One thing I need to remind everyone is that I no longer face any form of significant criminal penalties whatsoever for anything that I am being even accused of at this point. Because the case against me that predicated me being separated from my children has been dismissed. Judge Matos Wilson has done absolutely nothing in light of those circumstances. That being said, on the contrary, I'm currently responsible for $13,000 in a utility bill that I don't have the records that I need to run my businesses. I do not have the inventory that I need. I currently have already irreparable harm by virtue of my wife Mallory preventing a very expensive Mickey Mantle photo to be sent out, and now I have restrictions on my distribution channels via Jamie's eBay account. The complexities of my business model are of no concern to you. I believe that the judge's inability to recognize that I am the victim of domestic violence, I filed a restraining order first. I do not want my wife to go to jail. I do not want my boys to ever be separated from my wife unless she and I are not together, obviously, which obviously I'm okay with. And I think that there's some sort of a misunderstanding about something called unalienable parental rights. You see, what's going on right now is one of the most egregious violations of parental rights that I have ever heard of on a national stage. I have never in my life ever heard of a judge voluntarily taking away one father's right to be a father for zero reason whatsoever, other than the fact that I own a knife collection. One of the judges I'm not addressing is Judge Raven. I have a lot of respect for Judge Raven, but Judge Raven is instructed with the task of adjudicating my two other matters, which I will address in a different video because it will be regarding a different subject matter. This particular subject matter is regarding a PSE&G bill that if I do not pay and my power for my home is shut off and the amount is about $13,000, I will be jailed. The reason why this is so disturbing and illegal is I haven't even seen my kids in 5 months, let alone had access to any ability to raise any amount of money to be able to generate any income. I can't even get the money for when I make a sale of an item that's in the home to be shipped out. Now, what's worse, Judge Matos Wilson has put in a court order that if I do not find refinance structure within 45 days from the point of when she had her last court date and said this, I would lose the right to have any equity in my own home. So all Mallory and her lawyers have to do is ignore me until that time passes because she owns a part of the home. So she simply has to do exactly what she's doing now, and enough time passes because I can't renegotiate the debt, which is only 20% of the equity of the entire property, which is very easy to renegotiate if you have cooperation from the other side. But the other side doesn't think that I know that their strategy is for the 45 days to pass, at which point legally I have no more rights. But unfortunately, I've already filed the proper appeal process, which prevents that from also happening. But the complexities of all of this really pale in comparison to the fact that any judge that can think that a father being removed from their children's lives for no reason other than a spiteful, vindictive ex-partner should never be allowed to make adjudication claims in complex financial marital asset issues. And the reason for this is because a child and a parent have a bond that is far, far in excess of any monetary value that's at stake, and to put a financial value as a term for a father to see his children is not only sadistic, it is one of the cruelest, most unusual forms of punishment for a man who has done nothing wrong except put the most corrupt, democratic politician in U.S. history in federal prison for the crimes that that human being committed against myself personally and against 8 million constituents in the state of New Jersey and 20 million human beings in total. These facts are not only undeniable, but my mental state is sharp, I am clear as day, and other than needing Aquaphor, which really is a big problem, because I'm on a quest to stop smoking cigarettes and end every single substance that I have ever been accused of or taken that is in some way indicative of something. Okay. And my addiction to Aquaphor, which I've kicked silently in the background via dry lips. And your honors, I'm a dad. I'm a real dad. But what I am not is a deadbeat dad. And to accuse me of being a deadbeat dad and to create a set of circumstances that I look like a deadbeat dad no matter what I do, and my attempts to not be a deadbeat dad led me to being incarcerated multiple times. And the fact that the knife collection that's being illegally housed in the Livingston vaults of inventory of evidence of a crime, which could have been sold, but in reality, as a victim of a crime, I should never be forced to liquidate things that I own because the U.S. government is not functioning. We have a complete systemic breakdown of white-collar law enforcement not doing their jobs because they are so obsessed with social media's portrayal and the concept of the fact that this channel gets no views and is not popular, allowed human beings to ignore the fact that I have 96,000 followers on a different platform. But on the other platform, my children know are only positive things. So this platform of YouTube and this letter that I'm creating to the courts are my way of expressing that this is not legal. This is inhumane. What you guys are doing to me would have led to human beings who are not as mentally strong as I am to kill themselves. What you're doing is so sadistic and so inhumane that I do not believe that the people involved in this should ever practice law ever again. Because the decisions that they have made in light of the power that has been vested in them is completely inhumane. I am a great dad. I went to a county jail for 24 days filled with a jail of people that don't want to be a dad to their children. It was the most asinine thing in the world. People didn't believe me. Thank God I had documentation with me which clearly detailed a set of circumstances that never existed. So now I find myself being a victim of bankruptcy fraud. And in order to tie this whole thing together, I need to address Judge Martinotti and Faiz, who are handling the Don Biase matter. Your Honors, this trustee, Don Biase, Richard Trank, and the U.S. Trustee's Office, who are fully negligent and knew of his actions, are fully responsible for these bills not being paid in an orderly fashion from the sale of my West Orange property as planned by me via a 363H would have transferred the entirety of the profit of that property to the debts, including US Alliance and PSENG, and both mine and my wife's cars, which are a basic requirement for two adults with children. I earned that equity in West Orange, and I filed for bankruptcy to protect that equity. The actions taken by my wife, her brother, who is a bankruptcy attorney, her father, the U.S. Alliance Council, as well as Don Biase, Richard Trank, Anthony Tedoro, and a countless list of attorneys, was witnessed by Judge Sherwood. Judge Sherwood, I love you. I hope you're doing great. I really miss you. Unfortunately, you're somehow a part of all of this, and I really see you as both inspirational to me, because I know you took a stand on a lot of serious matters, but at the same time, until I see you stand up for the rights of the U.S. Constitution, I will take a step back from addressing you other than in a formal Your Honor manner, at which point I will not be filing for bankruptcy again until you and I have a conversation about what on earth happened the last time I filed for bankruptcy. It is far easier to go to the Supreme Court and address the Barton Doctrine, which has protected the actors involved, via a completely archaic 100-year-old law that needs to be argued in front of the Supreme Court just so I could prove my point that the actors involved in the bankruptcy destroyed a humble man's way of restructuring a little bit of debt that was a direct result of being a victim of his mother's multi-million-dollar fraud, his employees conspiring against him, his own attorneys, such as Jeff Ahrens, sending sensitive legal information to Harris Palmer, who is a defendant in a case that I'm currently owing millions of dollars in legal fees for not being an owner of a business. I acted responsibly to a point where after 4 reconstructive organ cancer surgeries, I still ran payroll because I thought that I was running payroll for a company that I would either inherit or somehow be able to distribute the assets of my labor as part of the management. The opposite happened. But I'm glad it did, because I no longer have to deal with people who pretended to love me just because I'm really good at business. And that to me is worth a lot of money, because the actual businesses that I have are worth far more than anything I generated in the pawn business. That being said, I need to address 2 matters on an emergent basis. Judge Padden and Judge Clark, you must see me on an emergent basis. The issues that I'm addressing to you concern irreparable harm. They are an emergent basis. I have a phone call coming in the middle of this. I can't take this. Now, what I'm going to do is cut this feed short so that we can address some emergent based items and the fact that I have not even been accused of a single violent act, only to be illegally taken from my home while being the victim of domestic violence. I have 2 little children at home that are calling me a liar because they believe that I did something to cause this, so that the actions of going forward and being honest enough to say, hey, I'm a dude, sort of, but I'm a man. I'm a real man. I'm willing to admit my faults, and I should have come forward sooner, but my wife hits me a lot. She hits me in front of the kids. There's nothing I can do about it. It's got to stop. I just need some help where I want her to be evaluated, as well as I just want her to go through anger management, because I can't deal with this. And 3 days later, I'm in a county jail for 8 days, being accused of crimes I never committed through so many illegal things. And 7 months later, I still have no access to my children because judges are making up stories that I didn't want to be a parent. I didn't want to pick my kids up as if I'm divorced in the terms of my divorce, or that I don't live at the house, without going through the process of being divorced. Because I was a victim of domestic violence And I'm a guy. And that in itself is a lesson that I'm willing to teach the boys. That even in the face of being left without seeing or speaking to my most precious, my greatest thing in my life are my boys. You can call me cheesy, you can call me crazy, but I'm about to sign this off. I will never stop fighting for my right as a father, even after the age of 18, which means that no matter what you say or do, I will never break the law, I will never come out of character, I will never, ever, ever show less than being a man of code and honor. And that is not because of me creating a public image, but because the letters that I send to the court must mirror the image that I show to the world. And if they do not, then my name is not Daniel M. Rhesus.